What's up, it's Cinema Shogun here, and you know there is a saying that goes something like, never let a good crisis go to waste. And you know our government, it never lets a good crisis go to waste. They take every crisis and they spin it into a way that they can further themselves, so that they can further their own agendas. We see it happen time and time again. And we've definitely been watching it play out over the last few years with the beer bug and all of that nonsense. Well, I have a similar saying that goes, never let a good news story go to waste. Now, the situation that's happening out there in Ohio with this train derailment, it's not something that you would call good news. But I call it a good news story, and I don't want this news story to go to waste, and let me explain why. I feel like this news story, it has the potential to wake a lot of people up. I feel like this news story about this train derailment has the potential, a lot of potential, to show people that there's more going on out here in today's world than what meets the eye. I think this story shows people that a lot of this climate crisis nonsense is just that. It's nonsense. It's fake, bogus BS that is being spewed by people who really don't care about our environment. I mean, was it not enough to see that the people who participate in this global climate health scare, that they all fly around in private planes and they all have a bigger effect on our environment than we do? They fly around the world, jet setting, driving the nicest cars, flying in the nicest private jets. And then they tell you that you need to stay home. You need to stay home and only travel 10 minutes to get your necessities. You need to live like this in order for the future of our planet. Meanwhile, they're destroying the earth every single day, step by step. Hopefully, this train derailment story can wake people up so they can realize that a lot of this climate change stuff, it's fake, it's garbage. It's put here to control you. Bad weather has existed since the beginning of time. Planet Earth, if you know anything about history at all, we've gone through cooling processes. We've gone through heating processes. Yes, the climate does change. Yes, temperatures do change. That's part of life. That's how the earth operates. In the 1980s, before some of you all were born, before I was born, they were scaring people, telling people that there was going to be another ice age. That quickly turned into, global warming, the earth is going to heat up. It's going to get too hot. And now that has changed into climate change. Meaning that, hey, it doesn't matter if it gets hotter or colder, we're going to blame it on climate change because we have to find something to fit our agenda. So this whole climate change nonsense, it's definitely morphed and changed throughout time. It's not something new. It's a tactic, a fear tactic that has been used for a while now to gain further control over our freedoms. And it's still being used to this day. It's being used even more so nowadays. It's just that the conversations around it have changed a little. But also, I hope this train derailment story wakes people up to the fact that our government and all of these entities out there, the World Health Organization and all of this stuff, they don't care about you or your health. They do not care about you or your health. That should have already been apparent to you over the last couple of years. But just in case it has not been, maybe now, maybe this story will be the straw that broke the camel's back. Maybe this story will be the story that finally wakes people up to the fact that they don't care about our health. They'll lie to us about anything at any given moment. It doesn't matter to them. They will look you in your face and lie to you and tell you it's safe to drink the water. It's safe to breathe the air. It's safe to go home. Then you go home, you drink the water, you breathe the air, then you wonder why you have cancer in a few years. The same thing happened on 9/11. I don't want to talk about that again. We've talked about it in past videos. But it's like a revolving door. But for some reason, people don't catch on. People are still walking directly into the glass over and over again, instead of getting into the rhythm of things and realizing it's just a revolving door, an ongoing process. We're always going to be led back to the same point. We're going to get fed the same talking points until we come right back around again. Over and over and over and over again. And it seems to me like either people are so stupid that they keep getting smacked by the glass, or they grow so comfortable with this process that they're stuck in that revolving door. They never enter the building. They never exit the building. They're simply revolving around, revolving around, revolving around. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want my audience to be revolving around for the remainder of their days. I want them to find a destination. I want them to reach that destination. And we're not going to do that by not answering or not asking questions. We have to think outside the box here. We have to make people feel uncomfortable with our opinions sometimes. We have to make people feel uncomfortable with our questions, because we have to continue to question the narrative, or else we'll just be in that revolving door going in circles over and over and over again. Now, like I said, I believe that this train derailment, it's a good news story because so many things can come from this. Another thing that can come from this, besides what I've already pointed out, is that we can come together. When it comes to news stories like this, they can bring us together. If we could put aside our differences for just a moment, I think a lot of us can agree with the fact that we don't like how this situation is being handled. I don't think that you have to be a Republican or a Democrat or a libertarian or whatever. It doesn't matter what you are, what religion, what political beliefs you have. I think this is a news story that the majority of us, there's still going to be people that want to turn this into a political fight. I think the majority of us should agree that we don't like what happened out there in Ohio, and that we don't like the response to what happened out there in Ohio. And I think most of us can agree that the government is lying about it, regardless if it's the government that you voted for or not. And that's why I think stories like this are important, because we live in a world that is constantly divided up into different groups. And today's world is more divisive than in any other time in history. So we have to take those chances of unity, we have to take them where we can get them. And if it takes news stories like what's happening in Ohio for us to get there, then so be it. Because never ever did I think that I would be agreeing with something Rosie O'Donnell said. Yet here I am. Rosie O'Donnell finally said something that made some sense yesterday. And I want you all to hear what she has to say. Then I'll be right back with my thoughts.
It's Friday all day, as my Nana would say. And I've been reading all the news reports on this horrible train derailment and chemical spill, toxic poisoning in Ohio. And fish dying, and chickens dying, and animals getting sick, and people feeling sick. And then the EPA comes out with a very non-alarmist, everything's okay, don't worry about a thing statement. And it's infuriating. I don't trust the EPA. I don't trust them. After 9/11, I don't know how anyone could. 9/11, they said it was safe to go back downtown to the World Trade Center. And it wasn't. There was no cleanup. There was dust everywhere, toxic, horrible, cancer-causing. And they lied to the American people. I don't believe the EPA. I think what's happened there is like Love Canal, or it's like 3 Mile Island, where there's poisoning. They've poisoned hundreds of thousands of people Their lives ruined. Ruined. They say, well, if I was someone, I heard a reporter say, if I was there, I'd pack up my kids and go. Well, you know what? Not everyone can do that. They don't have anywhere else to go. People are living month to month, week to week. They don't have stored up reserves to go stay in a hotel for 2-3 months, a year. Fact is, they're going to have to leave that town. And, you know, the water supply, it goes to so many states. This is like a tragedy of epic proportion. And it's criminal negligence by that chemical and train company. And nothing's being done about it. It's not on the news enough. It's not something that people are talking about. It's like being pushed to the back burner. And it's like so many deaths are going to occur from this. I don't know. It's so depressing to me. So depressing. I was watching Jon Stewart speak on it here on TikTok, or maybe it was Instagram. He's so smart, that guy, and he's done so much for 9/11 first responders, and he really is an intellectual, and boy, is he able to sort of spoon feed it to you so you understand, you know? And I appreciate him for all he's done. I love his stance politically, and I love who he is as a humanitarian. And go on his TikTok and look what he said. It's tragic. TikTok, you don't stop. So sad.
You know, this has to be the first time in years, literally years, that Rosie O'Donnell has opened her mouth and it did not result in me wanting to roll my eyes so hard that they got stuck in the back of my head for the remainder of my time on Earth. Someone made a joke online that now finally Donald Trump and Rosie O'Donnell found something that they could agree upon. And it's funny because it's true. But that's the power that news stories like this have. These type of news stories have the power to unite us. They have the power to wake people up. Wake people up who have not been able to connect dots yet. And I feel like there's been enough out there over the past few years that you should have been connecting dots by now. You should have realized that there's something up here by now. But everyone is going to come around on their own time. And I still think, I am not black-pilled, I am white-pilled. I think there's hope. I think there's hope for people. I think that there's a lot of people who have lived under decades and years and years and years of nonstop political propaganda, and it's going to take years for them to claw their way out of it. And I will be here with the helping hand, trying to get these people out of these situations where they've been mentally controlled and enslaved by the mainstream media and by government talking points and things of that nature. You know, I know in today's world, a lot of people are growing impatient with these type of people, with the type of people who think that, oh, everything's okay, daddy government cares about us. You have to be patient with these people, okay? It took years of indoctrination for our society to get this way. And it's not going to change overnight. But seeing people like Rosie O'Donnell actually speak some sense, it gives me hope that if someone as far out there as Rosie O'Donnell can make sense, that other people, normies, that they could come around to the realization that there's something going on here as well. And like what Rosie was saying, these people out in East Palestine, Ohio, it's not like they have the money or the capital, the resources to just uproot themselves and start a brand new life somewhere else. Most people don't have that luxury. If something like what happened in East Palestine, Ohio happened in your town today, would you have the money to up and leave? Would you have the ability to up and leave? And even if you did, would you want to leave everything that you've ever worked for behind? Would you want to leave behind your family home, your family farm, property that's been in your family for years? That's what these people are being faced with. And I don't think that any of us could really put ourselves in their shoes unless you've been through a similar situation. Luckily, I haven't been. Luckily, I haven't been, and I hope to God that I never have to go through something like this. But for those of you all who have, I think it's important also to remember that things are replaceable. Your health and you're not. So if at all possible, I would encourage people to get away from this area. But that's just not a possibility for everyone. In fact, that's not a possibility for the vast majority of people in this area or in any area in America. The vast majority of us cannot just up and move and uproot our lives, overnight. That's just not a possibility. So I think the thing that we must do in these situations is we should pay attention to these situations. We should hold these people over the fire. Hold them over the fire. Don't let these news stories go away, because then it's just going to happen more and more and more and more. And look, there's already been a dozen train derailments this week. Chemicals everywhere. We have to hold these people's feet to the fire to make sure things like this don't keep happening. And we need to keep talking about it. We need to let it be known that we know now, that we have the feeling inside of our mind, bodies, and soul now, that a lot of this stuff isn't happening naturally, that a lot of this stuff isn't an accident, that there's something else to it. And the more we talk about that, the more we point that out, I guarantee you the less these things will happen. So I want you all to keep sharing these videos. When you see someone talking about this topic online, share it. Share it. Get the word as far out there as possible, because news stories like this, you have to capitalize on them. You do. You 100% do. Because stories like this are very powerful for various different reasons. And best believe that if they could find an agenda to push around this news story, they would have weaponized it and capitalized off of it already. They do it all the time with other news stories, so don't feel bad if you do the same. You take this news story and you spread it. You spread it as far as possible, because people need to know that all of these people who pretended to care about our health and our well-being for the last few years don't care at all. And Ohio, East Palestine, Ohio, is a perfect example of that. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.